There's something deeply disturbing happening inside us right at this very moment. While you're watching this video, there's a dark part of your mind whispering admiration for the villains we supposedly despise. No, you're not a monster for this. You're simply human. Why do we become fascinated when we watch a brilliant criminal execute the perfect plan? Why do we secretly admire the courage of those who break the rules we would never dare to challenge? Why deep in our souls is there a silent envy for those who live without moral boundaries? This isn't a flaw in your character. It's a window into the most primitive and honest nature of the human condition. Think for a moment about the villains that have marked you most deeply. The Joker, with his absolute anarchy. Walter White, with his transformation from ordinary teacher to crime emperor. Hannibal Lecter, with his predatory elegance. They all possess something we secretly desire, the freedom to be completely authentic, without social masks, without moral guilt, without the suffocating weight of others' expectations. They do what they want, when they want, how they want. And we, trapped in our ordinary lives, feel a pang of envy for that. Carl Jung taught us about the shadow, that rejected part of ourselves that contains everything we consider unacceptable. The more we repress our inner darkness, the more it fascinates us when we see it projected in others. That's why serial killers receive thousands of love letters in prison. That's why dictators' biographies become bestsellers. That's why we feel strangely drawn to stories of corruption and absolute power. The truth is that all of us carry within ourselves the potential for evil. Stanley Milgram proved this in his experiments on obedience, where ordinary people administered deadly electric shocks simply because an authority told them to do so. Philip Zimbardo confirmed it in the Stanford prison experiment, where college students transformed into sadistic guards within days. Evil isn't an external force that attacks us. It's a latent possibility in every fiber of our being. But here's what truly disturbs us. We recognize in villains traits we wish we possessed. The courage to ignore others' judgment, the determination to pursue their goals without compromise, the intelligence to manipulate systems in their favor, the absence of guilt that allows them to sleep peacefully after difficult decisions. It's not the violence we admire, it's the radical freedom it represents. Nietzsche spoke about the will to power as the fundamental force that drives us. That primordial energy that seeks to grow, expand, dominate, and express itself fully. Civilized society teaches us to suppress this will, to channel it through acceptable means. But the villains we admire live this will without filters. They are the purest and most dangerous expression of what we could be if we had no moral brakes. Remember the last time you felt completely powerless in the face of injustice. When your boss humiliated you publicly, when the system harmed you without you being able to do anything about it, when people with less talent than you got better positions through connections. In those moments, a silent voice in your head whispered, "If I were like them, if I had no scruples, I could change this." That voice isn't your evil side. It's your free side screaming against the invisible chains of social conformity. Hannah Arendt, studies on the banality of evil, revealed something even more disturbing. Evil rarely comes from sadistic monsters, but from ordinary people who choose convenience over conscience. Adolf Eichmann wasn't a bloodthirsty psychopath. He was a mediocre bureaucrat who followed orders to keep his job. Evil, most of the time, wears a suit and tie and justifies its actions with impeccable logic. This means that you and I are just a few morally flexible decisions away from becoming what we supposedly despise. The difference between hero and villain isn't the presence or absence of inner darkness. Both possess it. The difference lies in the choices they make when no one is watching. If this idea has already resonated with you, imagine what's coming next. Subscribe so you don't miss this journey of discovery about the most hidden aspects of human nature. Because we're just beginning to go down the rabbit hole, Here's where modern psychology offers us a revolutionary perspective. Our fascination with evil isn't a defect to be corrected, but a resource to be understood. When we admire a criminal's courage, we're actually admiring our own repressed courage. When we envy a psychopath's freedom, we're mourning our own emotional prison. When we identify with a corrupt person, we're recognizing our own unfulfilled desires for power and influence. The problem isn't having these feelings. The problem is denying them. Jung warned that what we resist persists. The more we fight against our shadow, the more power we give it. How many religious leaders who preached against lust were caught in sexual scandals? How many politicians who promised to fight corruption ended up becoming the most corrupt of all? The repressed shadow doesn't disappear. It manifests in even more destructive ways. True transformation happens when we stop dividing the world between good people and bad people and start understanding that we're all complex people navigating between light and darkness. You're neither saint nor demon. You're a complete human being with capacity for both the most sublime compassion and the most calculated cruelty. This understanding isn't a license for immoral behavior. It's the first step toward truly ethical choices. When we recognize our potential for evil, we develop humility. When we accept our thirst for power, we learn to channel it constructively. When we embrace our inner darkness, it stops controlling us unconsciously. Think about the leaders you most admire. Gandhi, who admitted his flaws and worked daily to overcome them. Martin Luther King Jr., who recognized the anger within himself but transformed it into social justice. Nelson Mandela, who channeled his desire for revenge into national reconciliation. They were all powerful, not despite their inner darkness, but because of how they consciously integrated it into their lives. Neuroscientist Dr. Martha Stout discovered that 4% of the population are functional psychopaths, people who do not feel empathy but have learned to simulate socially acceptable behaviors. Many of them occupy leadership positions in corporations, governments, and even charitable organizations. They fascinate us because they possess a quality we secretly envy, the absence of internal conflict. They know what they want and do what it takes to get it, without the psychological drama that paralyzes us. But there's a terrible price for this: freedom, the inability to form genuine human connections. Psychopaths can simulate love but never truly feel it. They can inspire loyalty but never experience it. They can accumulate power but never find real meaning. Their freedom is a golden prison from which they can never escape. And here we arrive at the deepest paradox of human nature. Our capacity for evil is inseparable from our capacity for good. The same energy that can make us cruel can make us brave. The same determination that can lead us to corruption can lead us to heroism. The same intelligence that can manipulate can also heal. They're not opposing forces, they're the same force channeled in different directions. But there's an even deeper secret that few know, a truth that will completely transform how you see your own inner darkness. The most shocking discovery of contemporary psychology isn't that we all have potential for evil. It's that our denial of this potential makes us more likely to manifest it. Robert Hare's longitudinal studies showed that people who consider themselves incapable of immoral behavior are more prone to justify small ethical transgressions, which gradually expand into systematic corruption. In other words, those who most deny their shadow are most likely to be controlled by it. The person who says, "I would never do that," is exactly the person you should fear, because they haven't developed conscious mechanisms to resist temptation when it arises. Like an immune system that's never been exposed to germs, their moral defense is fragile and easily compromised. The final revelation is this: your secret admiration for evil isn't your weakness. It's your unconscious wisdom trying to prepare you for the difficult choices that life will inevitably present you with. When you watch a movie about corruption and feel that pang of fascination, your psyche is rehearsing survival strategies. When you identify with an intelligent villain, you're developing mental muscles that can be used for both good and evil. True moral growth doesn't happen through repression of our dark impulses, but through their conscious integration. It means recognizing that you're capable of both sublime acts and terrible betrayals. It means accepting that the line between good and evil runs directly through your heart and that you have the power to choose which side to be on at every moment. This is the most liberating and terrifying wisdom you can possess. You're not predestined to be good or evil. You're free to choose. And that freedom, not the absence of darkness but the awareness of it, is what makes you truly human. So the next time you catch yourself secretly admiring a villain, don't be ashamed. Thank that part of yourself for reminding you of your own power. Use that energy not to destroy, but to create. Not to dominate others, but to master yourself. Not to escape your humanity, but to embrace it completely. Because in the end, the evil we should most fear isn't the one that comes from obvious monsters, but the one that arises when ordinary people make convenient choices at inconvenient moments. And you, now conscious of your own shadow, are finally equipped to make different choices. True courage is not the absence of darkness. It's the light that shines even knowing that darkness exists. You've always had that light within you. Now you finally know where to look for it. If this journey has awakened something in you, if these reflections have touched a truth you already intuited but had never verbalized, I invite you to like this video and subscribe to the channel. More importantly, share this message with someone who needs to hear that they're not alone in their internal struggles. We all walk the tightrope between light and shadow. The difference lies in recognizing that we're walking and consciously choosing each step we take.